There's different types of comedy. What's your type?
I would say there are 8 different kinds. I don't know if I could list them all right now, but I think I say that I'm witty but not wacky. I mean, mine tends to be pretty cerebral. I work clean, which is probably why I book a lot of corporates and colleges and stuff like that. But I kind of cover it all. I would say that I have sort of a nerdy take on anything in the social realm. So whether it's dating or technology or race or politics, no topic's too big, no topic's too small. But I'm always going to be the guy that's sort of looking at it with a thinking man's cap on, I guess. I
mean, you told us kind of how it evolved. How did you hone the skill for comedy?
You just have to do it. I mean, you have to get up go bananas at the Funny Bone, at various open mics that occur around town. And with stand-up, it really is trial by fire. I mean, you can watch it on TV, you can watch it live, which is great, and talk to guys and build relationships with them. You can write, you can start a group, like a bunch of comics or funny people can start a group and perform it in your living room in front of your mirror. But there's really nothing that's going to replace just getting up on stage and doing it.
I could not imagine standing in front of a mirror. I could see, one of the video cameras doing something like that and playing it back and seeing.
Well, I think in this day and age, I think that's much better.
Yeah, but standing in front of a mirror would be, it would be really hard to even critique yourself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I mean, especially brand new, out the gate.
Sure.
What's the comedy club at the end? Is it Sunset Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard?
Probably Sunset with the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, the Laugh Factory.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's my home club out there.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm there once a week.
I mean, I would go back. I worked out there for 11 years, and I would go past, and there's people always lined up.
Oh yeah, it's
well
very
before
popular,
opening time.
Very popular venue
and
stuff.
I always wanted to go in.
Yeah.
I never made it. I just always wanted to walk in there and see. But I've heard of some of the people that have been out there that that's where they got their start.
Yeah, Laugh Factory. It's
Factory,
one of the great places out there.
Do you write your own comedy?
Oh yes, I write all my own stand-up, and I've written a one-man show that I'll be performing. Written some commercials. I write. I've started to get offers from people to write me stuff though, which is cool. Like they're like, hey, we don't want to get paid. We just want to write for you, like your stuff. Which I mean, I feel like that's somewhat of a milestone, and that's just started to happen.
Yeah, that's actually.
I haven't performed any of it, but no, I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. What inspires you to write? Where do you get your ideas?
I think just by living life. I mean, I say the difference between comedians and civilians is that we write things down, and that really is the case. And I think that's true for a lot of things. People who are inventors or just idea people in general, writers, you have to write stuff down. And because if you think, well, I'll write it down later or I'll get to it later, I mean, it is not unusual. I popped out of my shower to write stuff down. I pulled the car over to write stuff down. Just like, or you can hit the voice memo and just capture it that way, or however you want to do it.
Siri.
Yeah, Siri. You can tell Siri instead of asking her something, you can tell her, hey, please remember this for me. And but I don't know if she would be serious. Maybe they'd make a funny. That'd be a good one that should be the voice memo for funny stuff. Funniest. Yeah, we have a new app there. Yeah, good.
Has there been anybody that's influenced your writing style?
That's a good question. I've always said that my influences were probably a little more pretentious than just simple stand-ups. I mean, more like Mark Twain and Mahatma Gandhi and Abraham Lincoln and folks like that who were just, really kind of Will Rogers, people like that who were just like really witty and they would drop aphorisms. They were just very pithy and just very concise. As I give you a very long-winded answer, I talk about the importance of efficiency of language. But writing-wise, I would say I'm probably an amalgam of... there are about 7 or 8 sort of original comics, and we're all derivatives of them. And looking at my style now, I'm probably an amalgam of Woody Allen and George Carlin. Those would probably be the 2. Yeah. But I don't think I've tried to emulate anybody's writing style. I don't know that I write in a certain person's vein.
No, you can't do that because...
But people do, though, at least when they're starting out. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like old...
Yeah.
I mean, they've already done it. You don't need to be that person.
Right,
You
no,
need
absolutely.
to be yourself. Who do you look up to as a comic?
Certainly the 2, Woody Allen and George Carlin, and they're the greats. I mean, everybody's going to say Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld. I mean, those are kind of given. I think this day and age, I think Louis C.K. is widely considered to be the best in the game. My personal favorite is Bill Burr. He's also a white, redheaded guy from Boston, and I think he's the strongest in the game right now. There are other guys right now. I work with this guy, Sebastian Maniscalco, who's from Chicago, an Italian guy, Sicilian guy, and he's taken me around. I think he's really funny. Orny Adams, I've worked with a bunch. Mastro Prani, Russell Peters. Worked with Kevin Nealon a bunch, which has been fantastic. I mean, he's my only, really, I would say, true, person that I looked up to, celebrity friend. Like, watch him on Saturday Night Live and to be able to just be like, oh, I went to his house and I hang out with him and call him. That's that's a really big deal.
So are they as funny in
real life?
Personal life?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like, some guys are the type that turn it off, and there's some guys who are just always on. Nealon is very he's very low key. But boy, he's really funny. He's very dry, and you can see that even in his stand-up and on SNL. He's not like a wild, wild and crazy guy like Steve Martin.
Right.
But he was telling me he was at Steve Martin's house. It was interesting because I was talking to Kevin Nealon, and he was saying he was at Steve Martin's. You're like, wow, I'm looking up at you, and you're looking up at Steve Martin. You're like, wow, you've got such a different platform to stand on. Than I have.
I mean, Steve Martin, I think, is probably my all-time favorite.
I can see that.
I just absolutely love everything the guy has done, from the movies, from his stand-up, from the old days back in SNL.
The King Tut days and the SNL.
The King Tut. I mean, it was hysterical. Now when I look back at it, it's like, okay, it's still funny.
It really held
up.
I
mean, it has. It's held the test of time. Tell us, what's it like for you to perform?
To me, it's the best feeling, I would say. I really look forward to it. There are times where I'm nervous and there are times where I'm not. I'm generally not. But I've tried to figure out the rhyme and reason as to when I'm nervous. And I've had some really big shows for which I wasn't nervous at all. And I've had other ones that were really kind of inconsequential. And I was just like really nerve-wracked. Yeah. And there was a forwarded email going around called Random Thoughts from People Our Age. And they didn't say what the age was. It could have been your age bracket, mine. Your son's. I don't know whose age bracket it was, but I got the sense that it was younger folks. And one of them was I don't know, and they weren't things that made you laugh out loud, but they were just very insightful and made you smile. And one of them was the only time I look forward to a red light is when I'm trying to finish a text. It's like, that's really good. And there's another one in there where it said it was I don't know why I get so nervous when I have to announce my name and title of my department when I go around in a meeting. I was like, that's so true. It's so true. I don't know why you get so nervous. Like, you don't have to perform. I still get nervous doing that if I'm in a meeting or something.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and I don't know why. Why are we nervous? Yeah. You know your name and your title.
Yeah, well, have you ever screwed that up?
I know. It's really funny, but it throws you sometimes. You're like, oh, I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But generally, performing is a phenomenal feeling. There's sort of the before, the during, and the after. And I think 2 minutes maybe after you're on stage and you feel like it's going to go well, like they seem like a great crowd and they seem like they're with you, that's probably the best moment. That's probably the best right there.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. You can have a different crowd. And it's like, totally. How can so many deadpans walk in to one place to be entertained and one night? And I mean, I've actually seen it before.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's a bad audience.
No, it just is.
I mean, not that you're bad people. It's
but just don't ever assemble together again.
Yeah, but they do. It's like, what in the world happened to bring all of these people out at once?
Sometimes it's you, sometimes it's them, but sometimes it's an X factor. It's just, it's the room. It's performed in Portsmouth, Ohio, and they got the NASCAR race on above your head, and you're trying to do stand-up. Come on, man. You're not gonna get these people's attention in a small town in the Midwest when they got a race on.
You're out on the stage. Do you feel a connection with the audience? Or
absolutely.
Do you develop it, or does it just kind of happen your first line out?
I think it's magical when it happens. I think that people want to be part of something that'll never be done again. So stand-up it's written, and I think most people know that by now. Although I think that I think there are still a fair number of people who think that we're just getting up there and doing it. But I think there's a growing understanding that no, this is an act. It's called a routine for a reason.
Right.
And all that, but you can't force that connection. But you can be accessible. You can be in the room. You can open up a dialogue and talk to the audience. And I think that encourages them to talk to you. But it also encourages hecklers. So you kind of have to be careful with to whom you grant power in the audience.
And it's had to happen. It's happened to everybody. Heckled. I mean, what do you do when they?
The best thing, I think a lot of comics are very quick-witted. And when I first started out, I was more of a bully. Like, I was too fast. And I say that probably with a little bit of ego, but I think also just when you're that fast, you want to showcase how fast you are. And that's not really the best way to deal with it, because you can come off as a bully and come off as a little bit of a jerk if a guy just kind of zings you and he's like, "Oh man, I was just trying to play along," and you're like, you don't have to bully him. So I think the key is to let the guy get you a couple of times, and then what ends up happening is the audience sort of shifts to your side.
Right.
Because if you're the one with a mic and you're performing, you're probably getting paid. This is some poor soul in the audience. You just went after him. He gets you a couple times. We're like, come on, man, calm down. We didn't pay to see you. We came to see this guy or see a show. So then when you let him get you, the audience is a little bit more on your side, then you go after him.
Yeah.
And I think it's key not to hit him too hard in the beginning, because usually somebody wants attention, and then he'll be quiet. And it's almost always a he. It's almost never a she. And but sometimes they're just they're really drunk, and I mean I've had people taken out of shows, definitely.
Really?
Oh yeah, like where it was like really serious, where and it was not even directed at me. It was nothing personal. It was more the person that was really drunk to the point where you're like, I don't even know if you should be at a bar.
Was that your show that I got drug out of?
Yeah, that was you. I knew you looked familiar. I didn't recognize you with your clothes on.
That's right. Oh Lord, what would a person expect to come to your performance? What can they expect?
I think they can expect to have a good time. I'm focused on making sure the audience has fun more than I want you to think I'm funny. I really don't care. If people think I'm funny, that's great. I'm a comedian. I hope you do. But I don't go into the room thinking, I'm going to show these people how funny I am. It's more about, I want you guys to have fun. You paid hard-earned money, especially in this day and age, to come out. You park the car. You're getting your 2-drink minimum. You have to get a babysitter in many cases. You look at it from their point of view. If I were them, what would I want to hear?
Right.
And you have to be able to shift up your material that way. So I think that, I like to believe I do smart comedy, but Chris Rock said your jokes are not smart if only smart people get them.
Interesting.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that quote. So I think, it's not a question of dumbing it down. It's a question of relating to people wherever they are.
Yeah.
And that's what is interesting is if any of us had to get up in front of a room with 300 people and tell a joke that you think's funny. So let's say hey to you, on Friday night, you're going to do just one joke. Just get up and tell a joke and make 300 people laugh. Most people couldn't do it.
No.
It has nothing to do with the fact that you would be nervous. That would be part of it. But it would be because people aren't really there to hear the jokes. They think they are, but they're there actually to hear another point of view. That doesn't mean it has to be serious. But we're comics because we're incongruent from society. And they're like, wow, this guy's nuts. And that's kind of what they want. And it's that, and that's what makes it, I think, difficult. It's not about the jokes; it's about you and showing yourself to them as much as you can.
Yeah, I mean, you're putting yourself out there. I mean, you're actually just listening to you. It's like you're a pretty kind-hearted person.
Well, I'd like to believe so.
You want to entertain these people. You want them to have a good time, and there's some people that aren't quite that way.
I think a lot of people go up there with, "I'm going to show them how clever I am.
Yeah.
I want to show them how funny I am."
Right.
It's like that's fine, but I just think that probably comes more from. I mean, I don't know. I think some of the greatest comics are extremely insecure, and I think that it's a pretty well-known fact that a lot of comics have a lot of, a lot of those issues. But they say you become a comic if you either got not enough love or too much love.
Interesting.
And here in Fairfield, I got too much love.
Too much love.
So that ego is pretty real. Yeah.